This is the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. Here's your host, Corey Tusick.
This is the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tusick. On today's episode, I interviewed Lamar Wilson. Lamar, as you know him, Big Mar on Twitter. He's been in the space since about 2012, 13, roughly somewhere around there. And I wanted to talk to him. I've been following him for a while, but he made a wallet. He's a software developer, and he made a wallet before wallets existed. There was no other wallet in the App Store that you could get. So it was, only his wallet. And I wanted to hear about that and kind of learn from him as to like what the whole process is like in creating a wallet and how it works, analogies, stuff like that, to help people understand a little bit better. And then we also talked about, Bitcoin and religion and the philanthropy behind it and helping people. And then also, investing in systems and how that, can create a new type of wealth that isn't necessarily a fiat wealth, but, wealth of food and everything you need right in front of you. We had a really good conversation. This one went a little long. We went almost 2 hours, but it was a great convo. Definitely going to have Lamar on again. Really enjoyed talking with him, and we got deep on this one. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, it's at Bitcoin Simply. My personal one is at Tusick Corey, and you can email the show bitcoinmadesimplepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks. So your knee, you twisted it up pretty bad. No tear or anything?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know if it's gotten better, so I feel good about it. It just still kind of got pain in it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's gotten a lot better. It used to look like a grapefruit.
It's so like, because I think you're probably like around my age, I'm 35, and as we start to get older here, you're just like I had a softball game last night, and my shoulder just like my arm from the outfield, that was like my pride and joy, like throwing people out. And then last night, first throw, it was like, oh, that doesn't feel good.
Right.
And then one of the older guys was like, just wait, it's going to pop. I'm like, I'm not ready for that. I'm used to being the young guy that like doesn't have problems.
Yeah, man, that's the part. And it just takes longer to heal. Like, I used to get sprains and stuff when I used to play ball. And as you get older, that stuff just takes way longer for some reason. So
yeah,
that's what it is, man.
What did you play?
Basketball. Yeah.
Did you play?
I played football too, but I played basketball in high school. I was a lot smaller. I was like half of myself.
Oh yeah. Were you at what position?
I was playing center, basically power forward, but I can handle the rock and everything. It's just that when you the strongest dude on the team, they kind of put you down there playing against.
Oh yeah, they're gonna put you down at center.
I used to play against the 6'9", 7-footers, all of that. But at the same time, I would eat them up because I was too quick and I could jump. So
yeah. Where you're from Kentucky?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Basketball, you got Louisville there. You got
Kentucky.
Kentucky, obviously. Is that who are you a Wildcats fan?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's my alma mater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when was the last time they won the national championship? Was that they won in 12?
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and then the time before that was like 96, right? Something like
96 and 98.
Yeah, that's right. That was all with Patino back in the day.
No, it was Patino, and then it was Tubby Smith in 98. Patino left.
Oh, that's right. He went to the Celtics, right?
Yeah, we went 3 times in a row. It was Patino, 96, then 97, and then 98. Tubby came in and won it. Patino didn't win it back to back. So we lost the second time.
Yeah. No, I love college basketball. Like having March Madness back this year was cathartic. So thanks for coming on. We've been in a couple spaces now together, and I've been following you for probably like a year or so now. I love watching you on Twitter. So if anybody that doesn't follow Lamar at this point, you better. So what's your backstory with Bitcoin? How'd you get into it?
Yeah, man. So I'm a software developer. and a finance guy, and I had a software company we were building. It was like a Chuck E. Cheese online type of thing.
Oh,
and
nice.
So we go out to San Francisco, try to find some investors. And one of the investors we spoke to, he saw that we had like a token, our own little currency within the application. You know, it's Chuck E. Cheese online.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, he's like, I see you got this virtual coin or virtual currency here. Have you heard of Bitcoin? And I thought he said big coin, like BIG.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then when we left, right when we got outside, my business partner was like, man, I think he looked on his phone. He's like, I think he's talking about Bitcoin. And I looked at it and I said, I think he's saying Bitcoin. So I looked at it, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even really, I looked at it on his phone. I was like, it looks like it's not doing what we're doing. So we got to keep focusing on
Oh, yeah. Easy blow it off. What year was that?
That was, listen, I always thought it was 2012. I hate years. Like, I'm not great.
Yeah.
But I saw a Facebook picture that I took outside of that meeting, right? Like that day we took pictures outside the office, and it was from 2011. Oh,
man.
Right.
Wow.
So, yeah, exactly. And the next time I heard about it, I think it was the price was like $200 or something, $266, something like that. Yeah. And that's like Bitcoin hits all-time high. And that's what brought me back to it, because I was like, when at that point, I was like, oh, well. Then it was like all-time high, $266 or something like that. I think it was $266. Again, I don't remember any of the years. I just remember seeing the headline and then me digging into, I said, let me go back to this Bitcoin site. So I went back to the Bitcoin site. And this time I was on my computer and I looked at the white paper, and that was it, man. Like, I read the white paper, and I'm built towards freedom. Like, when I see things that make me more free, like, I'm drawn to them. If I see that nobody can control it, you're right. When I start seeing that stuff, that's what made me realize Bitcoin at that point. Then I was like, I have to, because me being a software developer, I have to build something for it. So I started down the path of learning about the cryptography, learning about transactions, learning about all of that. And I wound up building a wallet. So
yeah. So how'd that happen? I mean, because you said in the spaces the other day, you built a wallet and nobody else was building wallets.
Yeah, nobody else had so here's what happened. So there were wallets on iOS, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that iOS decided to ban wallets. So you couldn't get a Bitcoin wallet on iPhone for a while. And I remember crazy articles. People were like shooting their iPhone, like, screw you, Apple is shooting their iPhone in the backyard. But what happened was I had built my wallet right into that time when they banned them. So I was building it to release it, and then they banned them. But we figured out a way to be able to still distribute the wallet outside of Apple, the iPhone store.
Okay.
And nobody else understood how we were doing it. They didn't get it. So for a time, we were the only wallet in the world you could get on iOS.
Wow.
And that's how, like I said, we kind of built, like, people knew us then because of that. Like, it kind of made our name. So like, I remember going to Money 2020, and a dude running up to me from Australia, like, oh my God, it's the Fever guys, right? And he just run up to me. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know me?
Yeah, but that's the thing. And that's when Andreas, he used to tell people to get that wallet when we would go to conferences. So we became cool with Andreas, Adam B. Levine. Like, we were on, like, Let's Talk Bitcoin, all of those old school shows and stuff, because we wound up doing a deal with BitPay, because we had built this wallet. Right. And then, Apple then released their ban on it, and then you could get whatever wallet. But for a while, we were the only way you could get a new wallet. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. So for somebody that's not, I'm the opposite from you. I know nothing about software development or any of that stuff. Like, when Bitcoin devs start going, I'm just like, I try to sit there and listen, like, okay, I'm hanging with you. I'm hanging. But how does a wallet work? Because that's one of the things I think, a lot of people that come into this space where they go, it's a wallet. What does that even mean? You know what I mean?
I don't even think it should be called a wallet, to be honest with you, because all it is a very large number. Like, your private key is a very big number, right? One that nobody else should be able to generate the same one if you have a really good random number generator. Like it'd be very difficult to guess your number. So that's all it is, a private key that is a very, very big number, and that you use this equation, right? It's almost like I always tell people, like if you look at a line equation where there is a curve, which, you know, if you go back to your geometry and all of that, that you put this private key in it, it will produce you a public key. And from that public key, you get what is called your Bitcoin address, right? So there's a lot of other nuance in there, but that is the overall view that the wallet is just a really big number. That's all it is. And so the reason that you wouldn't call it a wallet is because all it's really doing is providing you with the way to create a signature that transfers on ledger your coins to somebody else, and basically just says, yes, this person can spend it. If they can meet certain criteria of this script or certain criteria with this signature, then they are allowed to then move these to someone else. And that's pretty much what it is. So for it to say it's a wallet, it's a good, easy way to do it because you're storing your value in it. But the truth is that it's really about your ability to have access to value that is in a ledger. That's really what it is. It's like a key to open and close access to something in the ledger.
Okay, so that's basically, I think I was trying to explain this before, and correct me where I'm wrong, but it's kind of like the Bitcoin ledger is the safe security deposit box, like room, with all the security deposit, and the public key is the one key you put in to turn the lock, but your private key is the other one.
No, the public key is like the number on the security deposit box.
Oh, it just tells you where it is. So
right.
You're like, okay, there's that box.
It really is. It's it's not the public key directly because nobody actually pays the public key anymore because we realize how dangerous that could be in the future. But what happens is you create a public key address based on that public key, right? And that address is what you see on the box. So that people can put money in the box, but they can't take money out. So I can find you and I can put the money in, but it takes a key or maybe 3 keys or 2 keys or whatever to open that box to move it and move the money to another box.
And that's basically what your private key or what your wallet is it has your private key, it has your address.
Really all it needs is the private key because it can derive everything else from that private key. That's
okay.
I'm saying, so when you get go one more step deeper. So when you look at
please do. I'm trying to learn, and that's what I want.
So when you hear like the HD wallet, hierarchical deterministic wallet, basically that's what a lot of these wallets are using now. So what they're doing is they're creating what's called an extended private key, and usually you have a mnemonic, which is the passphrase. The passphrase at the beginning. So you might got 12 words or 24 words. Those are mnemonics to allow you to help you remember what your expriv is, your extended private key is. And from that, you can derive, it's like a tree. That's like the root and everything else grows. Like that might be the trunk and everything else grows off of it. So you can build all of these wallets off of that extended private key. And that's what most people's wallets are right now. So when you're on a ledger or whatever, and they start giving you new addresses, they're using your one singular trunk
to build off of,
so that you don't have to have, because back in the day, when we weren't thinking about hierarchical deterministic, what was happening is if you wanted to not kind of like get people to dox your account where they could just keep watching your account, you would give new addresses every time you got paid, right?
Yeah.
But then that becomes cumbersome because now you got to back up all of these addresses.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So then somebody said, okay, let's do the hierarchical deterministic. I can't even remember which bit that is. But 39 maybe? I don't know. 39, 44 I know is the derivation path, but maybe 39. So if no 39 might be the never mind. It's one of them bips in that area. Yeah. So the hierarchical deterministic wallet basically said to that you can have this one seed or this root that you backed up, and you can create pretty much infinite wallets off of that root. And you would always have it backed up. So you don't have to hold all of them, and you can give people these other addresses so they couldn't see it on chain where you were holding all your money, but you controlled all of it. It's all about the control of all those addresses than it is like back in the day where, you still controlled them, but backing them up was crazy. People used to have stacks of paper wallets. Real time. No, I'm for real. I know a dude, he had a lot of Bitcoin, like over 24,000, and he just had them on stacks of paper wallets.
Oh my God. Oh
Crazy.
my God. Dude, that's like, nowadays, how much money is that? That's
I don't even know what is
millions
it.
of dollars,
Yeah,
millions and millions of dollars.
$750 million, 75 million. What is that? I don't know what it is.
Let's see.
24,000 and 30,000 is 720, 720.
Boom. He had 720 million
That's
on
what I
paper.
said. Yeah, he had it on. He for real. That's what he was doing. He was telling us about his way that he started moving over to what's called Shamir secret sharing for his family, because that was his way of like creating like a trust. So it's like
Yeah.
instead of having multi-sig, he was using like Shamir secret sharing with certain people, members of the family, and certain levels of who could have access to all the wallets.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was like his kids had so much access, and it was crazy. Just crazy stuff back in the day.
So that's like, and so yours wasn't a hardware wallet then? It was just an app.
Yeah, it was a software wallet. We literally wanted to, it was called Fever, right? P-H-E-E-V-A. So we were trying to tell them this is a hot wallet, like fever, like a fever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
it was definitely meant to be a hot wallet.
Okay, so that's crazy. So you get into it. You said what, like it's $266.
Yeah, it had to be because we launched it 2014 at the Texas Bitcoin Conference. So 2013 was the year I spent building it. But I cannot remember when I saw that headline that got me to start educating myself.
Mm-hmm. Somewhere between the 2011 and 2013.
Yeah. And to this day, I'm like, I wish I walked out of there and bought some in 2011.
Right? Oh, I can
know
how much it was. Probably like a buck.
I wish you know what? I'm gonna go look at that day I took that picture, because I do have that. That's the one reason why I love Facebook is the memories that it pops up.
Oh yeah, it keeps everything up there. Yeah.
I'm gonna go look at that day, look at the price of Bitcoin on that day. And I might not show up no more. I might,
you might cry and be done.
Go jump off a bridge or something.
Oh man. Well, speaking of Facebook, and you mentioned freedom. I posted whenever Zuckerberg put his video of him trying to surf or whatever he was doing on the 4th of July. I almost said something. I didn't want to offend anybody, but what the heck? I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive, but like it was like the most thing I've ever seen, because he just didn't
no emotion.
And like so lack of self-awareness of like what it's like. I'll probably bleep that out just because it's like I don't want to be mean. It's just like that's literally what hit me. I was like, dude, this guy has no idea what he's doing right now, and so like it's like the opposite of freedom. But like Facebook has its merits. But I mean, where do you see like big tech going here with like this craziness? Because I mean, I've told many people before, I'm not a Trump fan at all, but the sickest feeling, like the biggest pit in my stomach I've had in years, was whenever Twitter banned him. And it was just like,
yeah, I'll be real with you though. Like I thought about it like, hey, they banned Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah, no, they banned a lot of other people. That's what I saw people.
Like, they banned one of my cousins, you know what I mean? Like, what's his name? Hodl gets banned like every
week, yeah.
week. So I'm like, just another one of the people they banned, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never looked at it as anything other than this is a private platform and they can do what the heck they want, evidently, right? They've been doing it. People, there's literally a term called Facebook jail. Like,
yeah.
We call it Facebook jail. They're like, I did 30 days, man. I'm back.
That's a good way to look at it, like because I think it was, to me, just so alarming, like where you're like the president, like sitting president at the moment. But yeah, I mean, they banned so many other people, but it's still just as problematic, like maybe for me, it was like the moment the veil was lifted where I was like, oh my God, like they're not just banning HODL, they're banning anybody. Like they'll silence anyone.
but that's my thing though, right? Because for me, HODL is the same as Donald Trump. There's
Yeah.
no difference.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? HODL, Farrakhan, like they're all people. They're all humans. They have their own thoughts, own opinions.
Yep.
Right? So banning HODL is no different than banning Trump, no different than banning Obama, no different than like, you know what I'm saying? Whoever they choose to ban, they're a private organization.
Bad, yeah.
Yeah, but they're a private organization that can ban. I wouldn't even say it's bad. Because again, I think we've gotten so tied up in all of this stuff that we don't realize like most of this stuff is really not needed for survival. But we've been right. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like our priorities are so like jaded. It's like that's not the worst thing that could happen to Donald Trump is for him to get banned from Twitter. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah.
Like, it's not
he was going down regardless. It was.
My whole thing is if Trump really understood the platform, he would come back with Donald Trump too. You know what I'm saying? The next day.
Like do all the versions of HODL, you know. He just
exactly. It's like, look, we gotta stop talking about HODL because HODL doesn't do that. Now, this new HODL that I see is a completely different person. It's not the same HODL.
No. He's followed by Jack now. I saw.
Yeah, I know. That's
good news.
Hopefully we'll see.
Could happen while we're on this call. That's a good way to look at it, though. I mean, I've said to people, like, as far as decentralized communication, like, it's up to people will come up with it. You know, people will create it. It's not up to Twitter. And I don't think that Jack is really a fan of censoring, anyone. Like, it doesn't seem like his. I think he's a good dude. As evidenced by him his talk at Bitcoin at BTC was awesome.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. But that's what I'm saying. It's just it's a private platform. So whoever decides, the board or anybody who's like, no, we gotta stop this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they're making that decision as a private entity, and guess what? That's part of the rights we have in this country.
Yeah,
like you dig what I'm saying?
They have the right to do what you want as a private company.
That's just not do what you want, as long as it's
within the laws. Yeah,
within the law. But that's what I'm saying. So it's like, think about it. It trips me out. Like, I look at all of this stuff on the same scale. It's like there are nightclubs out there that will not let you come in if you have on white sneakers or a baseball cap.
Yeah.
Like, think about that.
Yeah.
It's like nobody's screaming. There are schools that make kids cut their dreadlocks off. These are the hairstyle that is part of their religion in some cases.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of how they grew up and believe, and their dreadlocks they've been growing them for 12 years to become a big part of them. But they make them cut them off because they don't like dreadlocks.
Yeah.
It's a private entity. What can you say? Only thing you can do is say, well, you know what? I just won't go there anymore.
Yeah.
Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. I got into a big argument with a bouncer in a club in Canada because he wouldn't let me in because I had white sneakers on, but they were good ones. It wasn't like I was wearing like some white, grass cutting New Balances or something like that, like.
Hey, well, see, what's that? Like, I like one grass cutting New Balances.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But if they're a private entity, they can do what they want at that point. My whole thing is if it was a public space, if there was a public Twitter, they shouldn't be banning anybody.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? It's like,
I guess that's why they got to stop hiding behind. Yeah, they got to stop hiding behind that section 230 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree.
That's different. Like, I think, you can't be discriminating in a country with so many different people. You can't do that, right? But as a private entity, discriminate all you want. I used to say that to my mom in out of town. I was like, why in the world would y'all go and sit in restaurants to get them to to integrate? Mm-hmm. I was like, it just never made sense to me. It's like, if they don't want to feed you, I definitely won't want to go in there and sit down because whatever they feed you, they probably spit in it. So it's
and you're giving them money.
Yeah, why exactly? But I get it. I get it was a bigger thing. But I'm like, listen, why ain't y'all just go across the street and build your own diner?
Yeah.
Or, in wherever your neighborhood is, build your own diner and support it and put that money in there. And that happened in many different communities around the country from a black perspective. But that's the same thing with Twitter. That's why I was like, when that what's the site that came up after that? It was what was it called?
Parler. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm like, it makes sense to me. You kick them off of there, okay.
Well, what freaked me out about Parler was how they were like, oh, he can go to Parler, and then Parler got banned from the app stores, and everybody was like, well, they still have their website, and then Amazon Web Services took down their website, and I was like, I mean, that's partly on Parler's part, because they probably should have just been thinking ahead and not put their web servers on Amazon. But it becomes that slippery slope where people are like, oh, like you can go here, but like then iOS like says no, you can't. And you're like, well, like shit, like
That's what I'm saying. But see, you see how I think though. It's like iOS says no Bitcoin wallets. I'll find out.
Yeah,
like that's the way I think. I'm like if you discriminate against something I want to do, it goes back to the whole freedom thing. I'm going to figure it out. Like if it's fair and unjust, I'm going to try to figure some way out to make this thing fair for at least the people around me, right? Like the people that I'm rolling with, like making sure, and because if I can make it more fair for me, it makes it more fair for everyone. Like Martin Luther King said, like an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. So it's the same thing. If I can make it more just for even my own individual self, I make it more just for everybody just by going that direction. You did what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then, man, I was like, yeah, Trump, go to Parler. Then when they shut it down, I was like, why don't they spawn up data centers? This man got 74 million votes or something crazy.
Yeah. He's got enough money. He's got enough money and he's got enough followers where he could kick something up.
Just run your own, just set up your own data centers. And then they say, okay, well, maybe the ISP stops them. All right. If the ISP create a mesh network. Because the crazy thing is, what I found is the more and more people fight against you and you show your resilience, the more powerful you become. Yeah. If you can make it through like every storm that gets thrown at you, i.e. Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
That's Bitcoin, right? The more you can, they keep throwing FUD at you. They keep trying to take you down and you become anti-fragile, the stronger you become and the more people will realize there's nothing they can do. So I'm always like, listen, I believe in free speech, right?
Yeah.
Trump can say whatever the heck he wants. It's not on him that people believe him or do stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's on that individual. And if we ever get back to the understanding of individuality and the freedoms and the responsibility and accountability we have to have for our own actions, right?
That's I think the biggest problem is,
right? Like that's Bitcoin.
You have to be responsible. Yeah, that's what I love about Bitcoin, because I think like the biggest problem is that there's no accountability for your actions, like no matter what happened, whether it was, like any of the riots, whether it was the Capitol or, any other thing, and then people getting arrested, they're like, I didn't think this was going to happen. It's like, you gotta like, I mean, you can't just go kick your feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk and take Facebook pictures and think that nothing's gonna, go wrong. But like Bitcoin really teaches that, because people are like, well, what if I lose it? And you're like, well, that's, that's on you. That's your personal responsibility. What if you lose your car keys? What if you drop them in the parking lot? Isn't that a problem?
Right. It's the thing is the cost of freedom is very high for people that don't understand responsibility. Because to be free, you got to realize you have to be responsible. The more independent you become means that you cannot depend on anyone else. And that right there is like, how are you free if you're dependent on someone? Because at any point, they'll just take that thing from you and you will go do whatever they say.
Yep. Yeah.
So you have to learn to be independent. You have to learn to be responsible and accountable for your own actions. You have to go back to where you hunt, where you're a hunter and gatherer. You know what I'm saying?
Like, you gotta feed yourself,
Right.
Nobody's gonna feed your family for you.
Right. And that's why that stuff that's why, like, I always tell people, I'm not your leader. I do not want to be a leader. I want you to learn to lead yourself. Like, I'll teach you.
Which is the best way to be a leader.
I'll give you as much information as I have. And from that information, you make your own decisions. but always know that you are responsible and accountable for your own decisions, and nothing I can say can take that responsibility away from you.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you to punch your mom in the face, and if you punch in the face, you got to deal with the consequences of your mom killing you. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? But don't come back and be like, well, Lamar told me to punch my mom in the face. You know, so it's the same thing with everything. Like at some point, everyone needs to understand that. Only people that I'm responsible for are my children and my wife. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. Like that's who I gotta make sure that I lead them. Those are the people I have to lead. Everybody else, man, I'm just gonna give you information and keep it moving. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like if you don't have that accountability, Bitcoin is gonna be rough for you. Yeah. If you don't have that responsibility, you just might as well just keep your money in a bank. Because if you really want real freedom, if you really want to get off the plantation, so to speak, like you gotta realize that you might get your foot cut off if you get caught. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you might. It's not gonna be my foot.
yeah. You're way ahead. You're not everybody. You know, you're not the straggler. So I mean, that's a good point though with the leadership, because I've noticed that in the Bitcoin community. You know, like the best leaders in general. You know, like you said, it's not just hey, like that's why like Trump fails as a leader, where it's like, you know, just like listen to what he says and do whatever he says. You know, and it's like. That's not a leader. Like a leader teaches you to walk on your own, you know? I mean, similar, like I have kids, you have kids, you know, it's like they can't do anything and then they can crawl and then you get them to walk and you teach them to do this and that and swim and everything else. And eventually the goal is for them to be able to fly on their own. And that's what I see. That's what I really like and enjoy with the Bitcoin community is all the leaders are like, they're a lot of people are like you, like, I'm gonna give you information, but like you got to figure this out for yourself too. You know what I mean? Like you got to be able to stand tough. So is that something you see in the Bitcoin community?
Yeah, man. Do your own research is a big thing, right? Like you hear
that was the first thing I was told. The first thing I was told.
Matter of fact, the Bitcoin maxis now would literally only say that. Go research it. You've already done the hard work. Go down the rabbit hole yourself. It's funny because the Bitcoin maxis have turned into 1980s parents. Like you remember the look it up. It's like, Mom, how do you spell look it up? There's a dictionary in there, go look it up. Like that was my mom. There was no Google.
There
was no quick. It was like go look it up. There's a thesaurus, there's a dictionary. If you check it, matter of fact, we got a half used encyclopedia. The N and the P ain't there, but
everybody had that stack of encyclopedias where there was a couple of them missing.
Everybody missing one of the letters in the encyclopedia, but that's my mom. Go look it up, right? And I think that's what I feel like from a Bitcoin perspective. The difference is that I tend to understand that even when people look it up, they might not have the right voice. They might not have the right person trying to show them, right? Because everybody learns different. So I just said, you know what? I have this information. I have a particular set of skills, Liam Neeson out here.
Oh, yeah.
I have to be able to break this stuff down to the layman, and that's just my service. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my service to the people. It's like if I can break it down so that you can actually understand it and then still go look it up, then at least I'm giving you a good foundation, and then I keep carrying on my way, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep. Just see you on the front lines, you know?
Yeah, that's it.
Everybody. Yeah, because that's what I think we were it was a Spaces we were in together the other night, and I mentioned something about, I think Shinobi was in there, and some guy jumped in and like kind of like tore the head off of somebody that was asking like simple questions, you know, and I jumped in and I was like, I'm kind of surprised that doesn't happen more, you know, like, you know, I had Gigi on and he was like, you know, these are like Bitcoin angels, you know, that just like, they're like so kind and giving and they don't like flip out. And I've only been, you know, quote unquote Bitcoin maxi for like a year. And I'm like, I'm annoyed by hearing people like come in and ask like, so if I want to buy a Bitcoin, how do I transfer it? You know, it's like, Jesus, like, come on, like just Google it. Have you not heard of Google? And like, but you guys have been in this for like almost a decade, you know, like how do you keep taking those bullets, you know, you guys just keep taking the shots and stand back up.
Because just like with me, I thought the guy said big coin. If the dude at that moment would have said hold on, stop this. This is the most transformative technology, da 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 da. Think about where I would have been from, I'm not bad off, but I'm just saying, like, think about, you get what I'm saying? If somebody if that first person would have just taken that kind of time to be like, this is where it's transformative. This is what it allows, da 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 da, and not just bring it up. And no shade to him at all, because he's still my good peoples. He's still a good friend. But it's like, at the same time, if that had happened, like, I just feel like, I don't know, it's almost like superhero movies, and I hate to say that because, again, I'm not nobody's leader, but it's like, as much as given, as much as required. That's the Bible, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like, I have it, so I got to give it. And then I give it and give you opportunity. And then, after a while, if you keep going down that path, like, I've gone down the path with some of these, like, XRP guys or BSV guys. I've gone down that path for an hour and a half. But by the end of it, their whole entire tone changes, because I think that I have a certain amount of knowledge that a lot of people don't have, because I am a finance guy and I'm a software developer.
Yeah,
right?
You've got both angles of Bitcoin.
Yeah. So I can come economically, and then I can also come from a technical standpoint. And when I do that, I think most people usually have one angle. And to be honest, most people have the marketing angle. That's where the angle they come in.
Yeah.
They are going after all of these baby coins because of talking points. Yeah. And I think me being able to break that down actually can help. You know what I mean? And if it can help, that's cool. Like, I don't like them buying $20 worth of Bitcoin is not going to affect anything.
Yeah. It's not pushing your stack.
No, it's not doing anything for me. And I think that's what I love about Bitcoin as compared to some of these baby coins that somebody buying $20 worth is going to, you basically just taking it from them. That's what's happening. Yeah. In this situation, this is more, for me, it's about freedom. And I want to, like, some of my favorite people of all time in history are abolitionists, right? Yeah. They're like Frederick Douglass, the Harriet Tubmans, the, you know what I'm saying? Like the John Browns, like, all of these people are like people that I've, through history, those are people that I always looked at as being like the real heroes, because they were not only like free, they went to go make others free. Like, they understood the value of freedom. Yeah. What I'm saying?
And they again lead by, by bringing others along with them, know, and it was kind of like a network effect. Like, you think of the network effect of Harriet Tubman, or, the network effect of Martin Luther King, or, it's that network effect's been around forever.
On Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah. Like, network effect of Jesus Christ, I mean, that stuff's still traveling around.
Yeah, that's a huge one. That's the thing, though. But I think that's, like, I don't know. I think, like, freedom to me is on the same spectrum as love. Like, freedom, love, all of that stuff makes the world a better place. And like, having actual true freedom, but also coupling it with something like love, right? Where you start to think about your neighbor, making sure that they're good too, as long, because I always say, if we all stand in a circle and we think about the person to the right of us, it'll get back around to us. And we don't even have to think about our own needs, because the person next to us is doing it. If we had that kind of environment, I think it'll just be a whole lot better, man. Like, I just think we wouldn't be, so at each other's throats, so polarized in this freaking country, in this world, I would say. Right? Yeah. I think we have far more similarities than we understand. And most of the stuff is just an opinion that winds up making you kill somebody or fight over something. When the truth is, if it gets down to it, and we all on the island together, like, either you can eat each other or you can all learn to grow a civilization. And in the past, that's what has kept humankind going, is the fact that we've been able to, like, grow together, man. You know what I'm saying? And
that's what I would struggle with war, like, I always looked at, like, any war movie or whatever, you sit there and you see the enemy and you're like, that's not really the enemy, like, it's just another person, and you're being told to do this. That's what, there's this story, a movie that we're going to make. Well, it's probably like years down the road, because it kind of took a backseat. But I don't know if you know that I'm a filmmaker. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's how I backed into this, and we started a streaming platform and everything, and we have some big announcements around Bitcoin coming with the streaming platform. So hopefully, Yeah, and I might need to lend. I need your voice because I mentioned this on the last podcast with Princey, but I'm making a cartoon called The Citadel that's like going to
Okay.
be like a Family Guy style humor, but for Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
And like I want to get all the Bitcoin personalities to voice their own characters in the show.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm with it. I love it,
Uh,
man. That's
and
cool though.
Yeah, but there's this story that we came across one time of these two soldiers in World War One that there's a German soldier and an American soldier. They were stuck in the middle of the battlefield in like a foxhole together, and they had to spend like while their sides were negotiating if they were gonna like let each other go or whatever, they had to spend like a day together, and like they couldn't speak each other's language, but like the whole story is how they basically it's like you're just a human, just another human being, and,
Bro,
and that's
that's
where it gets
huge.
hard to see how people treat other human beings, where you're like, I'm not saying this to toot my own horn at all, because I think that I'm a big believer in like, if you're donating money, all those kinds of things, it's better to be unsaid. But this thing happened to me recently. I was driving past, I was doing like a Walmart pickup order, and there was this family sitting there with like a sign that said like God bless anything that can help,
Yeah.
and I was like, God, like that just killed me. They had like a 4-year-old with them, and I'm like, what, what's going on? So I just rolled down my window because it was lunchtime, and I said, hey, look, I was like, I'm gonna run over to McDonald's. What do you guys want? And they were like, yeah, I guess anything. Um, and then so it's one thing to do that, but then like I was like, you know what? Instead of sitting in my car, like why don't I just sit with them, and I got to talk to them. They're from the Ukraine, they left
Hey,
because of Russia, and the reason like they're not homeless because they don't know what they're doing. He can't get any job because he doesn't have his immigration papers, you know. And like we
right.
just sat there and like shot the breeze, and then this reason I'm bringing this up is it really bothered me. And like I almost wanted to run down and like just my hockey instincts. I wanted to go fight the guy, but this guy like pulls by and just rolls down his window. And of course, it sounds stereotypical, but it was like this, like, like old, like late 20s white kid that like had some corporate job, and he was
Right.
just like, you got a nicer car than me. What are you asking for money? And I was like, are you shitting me? Like what the hell is wrong with you?
Right. Right.
I was like, I just took everything in me to like not go beat this guy down. But I'm thinking to myself, I just got like this little 4-year-old girl got like I got the Happy Meal and she was playing with a toy. I was like, this probably undo all the good I did if I like go and then just like beat the
That's the thing, right? Like, that's Bitcoin to me, right? I'm like, I got a buddy that makes shoes in Pakistan, amazing shoes. If I send a lot of money over to Pakistan, I might go on some watch list, and
yeah
my bank account might get closed down, right? If I send a lot of money to Iran, regular people, they might be making, wonderful satchels or something. And, they have a family and nice, and I'm talking back and forth with them. If I send money into Iran, if I can even figure out a way to send money into
yep
Iran, right? But those are regular people, like
yeah they're just humans.
everyday people, and it's the ideologies of the countries and these false borders that we have that have been drawn out that have created this division of human beings. Like, to me, that's the part I'm saying, man. Like, and that's why for me, Bitcoin's like, I can send that money to Iran and they can send
Yeah, they can send it back.
they can
They
send me
can
the shoes.
they
You
can
know
send
what I
you the
mean?
shoes. They can send you
Right.
whatever they want.
Nobody in the world can tell me that that's the sanctions against that country are stopping me from sending value to some people that I enjoy and love in that country. Like, that's crazy to me. And we get
Yeah,
so many people on Clubhouse from all of these countries, Iran included, right? And when they
yeah,
talk, they're having a good time just like us. But
yeah,
it's like, humans, we all are. We all got to laugh, we cry, we do. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you're right, brother. Like, that's powerful. You saying that, because I used to when I can't go say when I used to, but when I one time I went around, trying to tell I'm a Christian, and I was me
yeah.
and
Me
this dude,
too. Me too.
me and this dude just decided we was gonna go talk to people about Jesus, and so we went to the hood. You know what I'm saying? Went into the
Hmm.
neighborhood, not too far from where I was living, and we went down and we went to a house that was clearly a crack house. Like, crackheads were walking in the back, you know what I mean, in the front. And so we went up to it and just knocked on the door. And the first person to answer the door, I always say, I don't ever just bring up Jesus. I say, how can I help? Like,
Yeah,
is there anything we can do for you? And I say, anything that you need. And the dude, like, we was gonna give him money, whatever he needed, go get some food or whatever. The dude looked us straight in the face and said, "I just need peace."
Oh man,
Bruh. Like, you talking about, yeah, see, hits, right? Hits.
Yeah.
Because it's like, here's this dude clearly down and out, no shoes on his feet. How, like, you look behind him in the door, house full of people just smoking up, right?
Yeah.
And in the midst of all of that, the first thing he says to the two people asking him, "What do you need?" He says, "I just need peace." Like, that's huge. That is so human.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's what we all want. You know, that's what we all want.
That might be why he's smoking the crack in the first place, because he can't find it anywhere else.
Yep.
Like, and so when he said that, of course, now, you know, we start talking about Jesus a little bit, but it was almost like, I can't give that to you.
Yeah.
Like, that's something me personally, I can't provide for you, bro. And it was like, it was such an awakening for me. Yeah. Like, I've had certain incidents in my life where that stuff has happened, and it just makes me be more and more connected with humanity. Yeah. Like, the persistence and that's what I'm saying. Humans are so amazing to me for being able to put up with the things they do, be able to make it through, to be able to, like, humankind, right?
Yeah.
To be able to build, to be able to, in the midst of adversity. But I see that in every human, bro. Like, and I think that's why I talk so much about Bitcoin, because I'm like, this is an environment where the few cannot manipulate, right? Yeah. They can't like do things against the small guy. The small guy has his Bitcoin, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin, and you can't take it from him. And you can manipulate the fiat price of it. Who cares? Because 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin. That's really what it boils down to. And as more people start understanding that premise and understand the freedom that it provides, then more people will understand that, guess what? Once you get to 1 Bitcoin is 1 Bitcoin, you've reached freedom from a monetary perspective.
Yep. Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what anybody else does. That money is going to be that money, and nobody can do anything to it. You know what I'm saying? That to me is that's Bitcoin, brother.
You know, you think about, like, you know, from biblical times up through, you know, civil rights leaders and everything. It's like, what would they all say about Bitcoin? They would love it. They would love this. You know, I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who we had this really deep conversation, because I'm a Christian, and he had been an atheist until recently. Like, he grew up Catholic like me, and then you know, went away from it, and then he had some, like, profound realizations, and we were talking about that. And he's very early on the Bitcoin trail, and he said, you know, we were talking about Bitcoin and religion, and he goes, you know, the only time Jesus ever showed aggression was whenever people were the central banks of the day were taking advantage of people and robbing them of their property, you know. He's like, you know, in the temple, and, you know, he's like, isn't that interesting that, like, even back then that was a big problem, you know, like, you shouldn't charge interest. Like, there's stuff in the Bible about charging interest on people, you know, and, like, you know, the only way, you know, and, like, I had Jeff Booth on, and he said the only way in a Bitcoin world to get more Bitcoin is to provide value, you know, not to make people, you know, to put them in debt to you and make them, you know, a slave to your,
right. Yeah, I talk about that all the time, because it's like, our system is, I always say, if I give you $10 and you got to give me back 11, where does the extra 1 come from?
Yeah.
You gotta work. You gotta, even if you just kept the 10 and I'm expecting $1 back, you still would have to go work to get the extra $1.
Yeah.
And so now when I give you the money, you're having to work for me just to pay me back, even though I just gave you 10. I didn't create that $1. I just told you need to pay me more on top of it. And that's what our system is built on, over it, like, continuously down from the Fed all the way down the road. Everybody is enslaved. And then even from the standpoint of, like, if you think about, like, when you're talking about Jesus, if you think about how Jesus was, the people he always spoke out against were the Pharisees.
Yeah.
Right. He was always like, these cats, like, they empower and they abuse their power, basically. right?
Yep.
Like if you look at all those scriptures, it's like he's always talking against the Pharisees. And here's what's so crazy, when he talked to the normal everyday person, he talked in parables. So that's, if you just, I have never really broke that down to you, but that's the reason why I think I try to make Bitcoin and stuff like that as simple as possible, because, just seeing
you got to break it down for everyday people,
Right. And that's it, man. So yeah, man, that whole debt slavery thing to me though it's probably one of the biggest actual like rights issues that nobody talks about. Like even from the actually ability for us to participate in, like, people to participate in the economy, everyone, right?
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't have the ability to participate. They might have the means and they still won't let them because they're an unaccredited investor. If you start thinking about all of that stuff, if we're supposed to be a free country and everybody is equal, why do we even have rules like unaccredited and accredited investors? Like, why can't everybody have the same right to fail and succeed, right? Why can't everybody have the same right to actually participate? That means that the game is rigged from the jump. And it's rigged because we live in a system that is based on debt from the get-go. So you always need workers. Otherwise, that imaginary dollar that you made up that needs to be paid back, where's it going to come from?
Yeah.
Like that's really all it boils down to, man.
It's a zero-sum game, and it doesn't do any good for anybody. You think about that. Like, I think that's one of the heavy things that I've been processing through this whole Bitcoin journey, is the realization that the world around you isn't what it really is. The world that we were told we lived in and grew up in, because they could never go back to straight human slavery. So they were like, well, how are we going to entrap people more? Let's, what do you have? BlackRock now going around trying to buy every house so that they could, what they say, in 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. It's like, come on, it's nuts. And then you have the college debt, I graduated high school in 2004. And I think I was right in the middle of the biggest heist that has ever happened of stealing wealth from people, is convincing a generation, that they could go to college. And really what they did was they preyed upon the parents, which I feel bad because, I was fortunate that my parents were able to help put us through college, but there were 5 of us, so it wasn't easy. But then you have think about I think about my classmates who, their parents were working class and would never be able to afford getting their kids to go to college. But then they have these advisors come in and tell their parents, hey, with a Parent Plus loan, you can send your kid to college, and so those parents are like, oh my God, I can give my kids something that I never thought I'd be able to give them. And so that's they're preying on their good intentions and enslaving them and their children with this debt. And it's just sickening, And
it trips me out that if you talk to people who are against state funded education, it trips me out when you say, so you don't mind your kid going to K through 12? And they're like, no. I was like, what's 4 more years?
Yeah.
Your kids went to public school from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So if the state pays for 4 more years, no, you should have to earn your degree. Da 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 da. And I'm like, if you think education is a right for you to have, or a privilege that everyone should have from K through 12, why not at the higher rank or at the higher levels? And the only thing they can ever come back with is that, well, that'll help you get. Well, think about what you're just now saying. You're basically saying that everyone shouldn't have an opportunity to succeed at that level. That's crazy, because everybody's not going to go to college even if you pay for it, right? People drop out of public school. That's not
out of high school. There's people that don't finish high school.
Yeah, it's the craziest thing to me. I'm always like, I'm not a huge person for tax, because then they go, how do you pay for it? I'm like, listen, man, if we can figure out how to pay for more tanks, we can figure out how to pay for kids to go to school, man. That's really what it boils down to. It just shows that there's a misalignment of actual values sometimes in this country. And you in Canada, so.
Oh, no, I'm not in Canada. No. Although I do spend some time up there. But yeah, the hockey thing would make you, I'm
Yeah, I thought you said you was in Canada. I was like, oh man.
no, God, no. If I was in Canada right now, I'd have to have a mask on and be like handcuffed to my table. Um, and but
You
yeah,
wouldn't even be
no.
able to have this podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? I'd have a gun to my head, like telling me, like, say what the state wants you to say. Um, no, I'm in Pittsburgh, so I'm not too far from you. My sister went to Dayton, um, so right there on the border of Ohio and Kentucky.
It's
Um,
close. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
It's close.
not right next to like Louisville and Lexington, all that stuff, but
It's a little bit away. It ain't that far.
yeah.
Pittsburgh is like y'all got all the rivers running through the city, huh?
Oh yeah, yeah, and then we send the Ohio, we send it all down your way, and you know, uh, that's what
And
my
all the fish come up with three eyes.
yeah, yeah, I know. Especially back in the day, whenever Andrew Carnegie was pumping steel, it was like,
Right.
dude. There's pictures of Pittsburgh. You should look up like old pictures of Pittsburgh whenever the steel mills were running full
Yeah.
steam. It gives it a bad look. People think it's a dirty city. It's a beautiful city, and it's clean now. But
Right.
in like the 40s and before, it was so smoggy. There's pictures of like at like high noon on like the main intersection of downtown, and it looks like it's night. Like there's a picture of the sun, and you can barely see it through the clouds. It's nuts.
Easy.
It's
Crazy.
nuts. But yeah,
Could you imagine them having an ESG war back then with Andrew
I
Carnegie?
know. Yeah, back whenever you literally couldn't see the sun.
Right.
We should do something about this.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like,
that's
it's like steel uses too much energy. All right, steel pollutes the world way too much. I'm just like, I don't know. We are so far from those days. That's what I'm saying. And
yeah,
now they're attacking Bitcoin. It's the funniest thing to me. It's like,
I know, and like really, I say like humans, we know so little about the world around us, where we're like, how it's so arrogant of us to say that like different things we do have a drastic impact on the world. Like George Carlin, did you ever hear his line where he said, I'm not worried about Mother Nature. Mother Nature will be fine. It'll be here after us, like
right, exactly. It was here before. It's like,
like
it's going to be all right. It'll figure it
we're
out.
not gonna kill the planet. The planet's gonna kill us if we, get out of line. Um yeah, it's
What is a virus?
yeah, I know, right? But yeah, that's it's interesting the Bitcoin in freedom, like it's really, once you accept that like it isn't what it was around you, this debt economy that we have. I'm like, now I kind of feel like I see clearly, but it's a hard journey, like, so I guess
Yeah.
to encourage people that are like starting to learn, and you're just like, whoa, none of this is what I thought it was. It's hard. It can be like depressing at times where you're like, shit, like they don't want, like, you mean the government doesn't want what's best for me? Like, what are you talking about?
Because you think about this, like many of us only want more money because everybody's like, yeah, I want more money so I can have more time. But there are basic things as a human being that you have to do that the only thing you're saying when you want more money is you want to basically get your own slaves.
Yeah.
Listen to what I'm saying, right? It's like
Yeah.
you have enough money that someone cooks for you. You have enough money that someone waits on you, drives your car, washes your clothes, watch your children. Like I started thinking about that because my wife's like, yeah, I can't wait. We can move, and get a chef. And that made me think. I go, dang, I never thought about it until she just said it. But really, she's just talking about taking those burdens or those, basic human things that we have to do and place them in the hands of someone else that you're going to pay a price that you can afford.
Yeah.
And most people say, well, that's just free. Like, it's the free market. And those people, they choose to do that work and they don't have to do that work. But you think to yourself, it's like, I just created another struggling individual instead of doing it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
You get what I'm saying?
like, it is kind of like a microcosm. If you look at like cutting the grass for cutting your yard, it's like, that's a discipline that if you give that up and make somebody else do it, like, then you're just, you're like, if you can't do that, then what are you doing? You're just placing burdens on other people. I didn't think about it that way.
Then to think about it, some of them are in such dire straits because of the system that we're in that they have to do it.
Yeah.
Like the only way they can put food on their children's table. I trip off of that because I'm like, here it is, a maid or a cook, a chef comes to a rich person's house, opens up the refrigerator's full.
Yeah.
In these smaller countries, right? These other countries. And then from that full refrigerator, they get a small paycheck and go home to a refrigerator that has nothing in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that. Like, you know, it would be better. Like, bring the person there and sup and eat with them. Bring their kids every day and let them eat with you. Like the abundance that you have of food, bring the kids there, pay them a good salary, and bring the kids there and have communal, like a communal meal.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff is like the things that I feel like from a humanity standpoint, we could get back to, because that's where we kind of were. And then you bring in capitalism, and which I'm definitely not down on complete capitalism. But when you start thinking about it from that
real
standpoint,
capitalism is good, not the fake capitalism.
Not this stuff, not this crony stuff.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, because I get that. I get capitalism because it actually helps you produce better goods and all that kind of stuff moving forward. But I'm talking about when you start having a class of individuals that are built on debt, that they have to go and work, and then they wind up working for someone who has so much abundance. And then people will say, well, it just is what it is. But it's like, you have all of this abundance and you're giving them a small piece so that you can continue to have more than enough. Yeah. And they barely have enough. So it's like, there's some equity there. Man, listen, I'm talking this out right now, just thinking from a human perspective. And I don't think I've ever, like, again, like when I was talking to my wife, that's when I came to that realization. I'm just coming to that realization that it's just crazy that that's how we live. And it's, I mean, I don't know if there's a easier way, a better way, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just know that is what's going on right now, because we just want more money so other people can do the things that we probably are, like cut the grass. Like you said, that basic thing of cutting the grass or washing the dishes. Like, instead of us being the ones to do it, we sit back on our phones and scroll Instagram and get somebody else to cut the grass. It's the I don't know.
Dude, it's heavy stuff. It's like it really is. It's, you know, but then, like, you know, you look at, you know, like you said, like getting your time, and, you know, people, I feel so bad for people that just get stuck on the hamster wheel, you know?
Yes,
and
that too.
And they just do that forever. That's what, whenever Princey and I were talking about, like, how he quit his job, you know, and it's like, to just get off that hamster wheel. Cause he was like, dude, like, you know, he's working from 6 o'clock in the morning at a trading desk until 5:30. And then, you know, it's like, get to go home, spend like an hour with the kids, and then they go to bed. Yeah. You know, you can't, if you're on that hamster wheel, you can't be having a conversation like we're having right now, you know, like you don't have that
in the middle of the day. Yeah. Like just straight up in the middle of the day.
Yeah. It's just, you know, there's people and then they, like, most of the world, they live that life. They just think like, oh yeah, I mean, obviously you graduate, you know, high school or college, you get a job and you do that until you almost die. And then, you know, whenever you are almost dead, you stop and you just
start traveling the world. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what? Like, I don't know. Because so many people, I bring this up example of the people, but like my uncle passed away. I want to say he passed, this 10 years ago, but he passed away like 6 months after he retired. You know, and it's like, you just look at that, you're like, oh, like, you know, what's the point? You know, all the Social Security and everything, they don't pay it back if you die early. They don't give you money back that they took out of your paycheck. You know, oh, you know what? We took too much from you. Like, it's just,
that's what I used to say about, like, what is it? PTO. Some people have so much PTO, they just stored it. And it's like, why are you not using that? Like, go be with your friends. Go be with your family. Like, man, like everything. Gosh, we getting too deep, bro. This is I don't know what this podcast is supposed to be, but it's like it's sending me down the path, brother. Because I'm just like, you got me really thinking now. Because I'm like, gosh, like, yeah, you know what's so funny, and this is like a theory I always have. It's like, what if instead of us investing money to get more money, because I always say this, because think about it, we're investing money to get more money, but it's really so that when all things are said and done, we have enough money to get the things we need.
Yeah.
What if instead of investing in that, we invest in systems that provide perpetually the things we need, like energy, like food? Like what if people started to invest in shipping container gardens for the backyard so they can have all the food they needed at all times? Solar power, collecting rainwater and doing it so you can become more independent, paying off your house. So now you have a paid for house, electricity, constant electricity, renewable electricity. You have all the water you need because you've collected all of it, and you have all the food you really need, and it's healthier food.
Yeah,
that to
it's
me
not
is wealthy.
this GMO stuff. Yeah, that's wealth.
That's wealthy.
It's not the money; it's the freedom. You know, you if you can have everything you need, what else do you need? You know,
right?
Which I guess that kind of makes like when we look at the fiat mindset of like, people that want to buy more things, they're so focused on, getting a new car. And that's one thing I've definitely noticed with Bitcoiners is like, everybody's so much more patient with their money, like,
right.
I definitely, if I was into Bitcoin, I wouldn't own the cars that I own now. Like, it's, we're moving to like our forever home, and we're building one, and it's, on land and all that kind of stuff. But even now I'm like sitting there like, should I spend that money on that, or should we just stay crammed in this little house and like, it's like, because I could stay crammed in here forever and just keep stacking, and we'll be fine. But yeah, that's fine. That's what I want to do on our land. I want to be self-sustaining. I want to have, food and in a power grid. Like, we just, if we get that close again to the world shutting down and everybody freaking out, I don't want to have to be worried. Like, best I could do last time was I filled our deep freezer with meat. That was the best I could do leading up to like the pandemic. I was like, my buddy had told me something was going down. He's like, dude, he called it in like January 2020. He's like, dude, this is happening. And I was like, is he being crazy? But like, he's really smart. So like, he wouldn't just say this. And so like, I just told my wife, I said, let's just stack up on some essentials just in case. And then when shit hit the fan, I was like, thank God we did that. But then I'm like, I don't want to go through that again. I want to be able to have, the fruits and vegetables right in your backyard, Like, yeah, why don't we invest in that? Because people look at it and they don't see it as money. They're like, how do I make money off that? But you don't think about, you don't have to pay for food. You don't have to pay for your house. You live in your house. You don't have to pay for it. You like that. How much money do you need to make a year then?
Right.
Which is like,
you breaking it down. That's why it's my theory. I'm like, instead of us investing in financial assets to make more finances, why not invest into systems? Like actual systems that help us to live perpetually without anyone. If you do that, because you can even have like even these smaller homes. You can get like I saw a shipping container home yesterday. Dude said he put 20 grand into it, and it was like for most people a couple, and it worked fine. Like you got kids and stuff. I don't know about one shipping container.
Yeah, that'd be a little tough.
For them, they literally were living on the side of a mountain, looking out over this river. To these, it looked like a Coors Light commercial or something. Like,
yeah,
like the most beautiful thing ever. And this is what they're waking up to. They spent 20 grand. They live off grid. And I was just looking at that like, more people, if they thought like that, more people would not be homeless.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, if we thought that way, like more people would probably be far more comfortable in their surroundings and their live. But we've gotten ourselves so worked up on having things and stuff that's how this system continues to perpetuate itself, because that stuff makes us go get debt that we can't afford, and then there we go. Now you're a slave, and you're a slave forever. That was something I heard, and I don't know how real it is, so don't hold me to it. Do your own research.
Yeah.
But someone said when they were trying to bring like factory and manufacturing employment to South America, it was hard at first because people, when they first went down there, they went down, and these are people who are living in paradise pretty much.
Yeah.
And they try to throw them in these factories to work. They're like, screw this. Listen, I've been living
I'm on the
in my
beach.
backyard.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. And they said what they did was they started putting like commercials on TV for diamonds and cars and all of these things, and then providing credit. And they said once they started doing that and people started getting into debt so they could get all of these things, the factories filled up.
Damn. That's so depressing. That's so sad that happened.
But
it's a mindset. It's the mindset.
This is our way, right? This is the way
trick that we're all living in right now.
Yeah, that's the education you were talking about.
Yeah.
We're gonna show you the degree, but this is what the degree gets you. It's the house, the car, the da-da-da-da. When truthfully, the farmer, if he could figure out a way to fight off the elements, because that's really what the biggest issue is with the farmer. If he could figure out a way to grow in perpetuity without having to worry about the elements, most farmers back in the industrial age probably would have stayed farmers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It was just that famines and hurricanes come through and all of these things to take out their crop, so they don't have any resources. And then they're not having this money always coming through. So they move to the city because it's like, I need to have some resources so I can feed my family.
Yep.
But if you could figure out a way for them to always have food, they got land. They already built their house with their hands. I always look at like the Amish, the Mennonites, like those people are counterculture, and their culture has lasted for a very long time.
Yeah.
Because they sit outside of our mentality of this debt system.
And they look pretty happy, you don't ever really see any miserable Amish people, they're like, God, I hate all this green pasture. I hate this beautiful land I'm looking at.
Amish country, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's Amish and Quaker and like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the minimalist type mentality. Like I looked at those different cultures and I'm like, that right there, it might be counterculture, but it's like, if you start thinking that way, think how free you are. Listen, if you can ride a horse and buggy all over everywhere, that means there's nowhere you have to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that.
You don't have to be anywhere.
No. You got to get to places, but you don't have, it's not like you have to get there at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like, because even I think about, so every year they always have the American Film Market out in Santa Monica. And in every year, this guy is a homeless dude that is a surfer, and he lives out of his van, and he lives in this parking lot. Like it's the parking lot everybody parks in right by the beach. And his van just every year just changes to a different spot in the lot. And, we just always kind of marvel. We're like, man, that guy's always there, and he had a dog, and, and then like we started to say, we were like, you know what, like who's really losing here between me and him? Because like he wakes up every morning and he sees the beach and he sees palm trees in the ocean, and then he goes out and he surfs. And, I don't know what he does for food or whatever, maybe he makes a little bit of money or something. And he lives in his van. And like, I was like, you know what? I think I might have this backwards. Cause I'm pretty miserable sometimes. This guy, like you said, if you have a shipping container on the edge of a mountain, like a beautiful mountain, and what's the Moab, Utah? I had a friend of a movie producer friend of mine that during the pandemic last year, because he was like, obviously nothing's happening in the movie business. Yeah. And so him and his wife packed up. They'd never been campers before, and they went to Moab, Utah with a tent. And he sent me pictures. I was like, that's pretty great. Yeah, I know you're sleeping on the ground, but that's pretty awesome. Like, oh,
right.
What am I doing wrong? If you have everything there, why are we killing ourselves to get this prepackaged crap from Walmart?
Damn, and the crazy thing, no time in history have we been in a position to do this with the technology we have.
Yeah.
We've reached it. We've reached the ability to get all of our electricity from the sun. We've reached the ability to collect rain and have amazing filtration systems to make sure that we can drink that water without getting sick. We have the ability to grow food vertically in a freaking shipping container so that any elements are not going to affect it. Now, do we need capital at the beginning to get all of that going? Yes, but that's the investment.
And then
That's
once
the 401k. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's, you put that money in monthly every time you make a paycheck to basically start paying for your freedom, to put money down on your freedom. Like, why are we not doing that? It's the craziest thing to me. Like, I've been looking for land for the last 2 years in a tropical climate. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because
Katie
like
the
you
Russian.
just said, I want to be looking out over the water.
Yeah.
And I want to be in an environment where I can grow food year round because the sun is always out and there's plenty of rain. Right?
Yep. Yep.
It's like that allows me to then go and, like you said, get those fruit trees going, like all of that stuff. You can just go in the backyard, get you a coconut and a mango and slice it up and get you a couple of tomatoes and make a salsa. Ugh.
Oh, man.
Get you a lobster.
That's the life. Dude, that's it right there.
And you don't have to think about anything. Like I am extremely grateful to God for the life I've been able to lead, but it's something in me that keeps leading me toward that kind of life as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
you understand what I'm saying?
Dude, I've been thinking the same thing, because I'm like, okay, we're gonna have land up here, but like I also want to have something. I love tropical climate, and I've been telling her, she's like, my wife says we could never live full time, in the tropical climate. So I'm like, okay, I guess we have to have enough money to have 2 homes, but but the second one in the tropical climate doesn't have to be crazy, just on the beach, just a house, like
$20,000 shipping container.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take a $20,000 shipping container, and on what was Katie the Russian? What's the places she was pointing out, the Caribbean islands? That she was I forget what they were, but a couple Caribbean islands where she said she could get you a passport, and everything. Yeah. Her whole deal of getting you a passport. And I was like, those look pretty great. Like, I think maybe we could do something, at least retire, or a vacation home. But yeah, that's, dude, we should do a pod sometime. I'd get Untapped Growth and have this conversation of like, regenerative farming and all that kind of stuff, of like, because that is, and it's so funny. Like, growing up, I told my parents I wanted my whole yard to be pavement, because I didn't want to cut grass. I didn't want anything to do with like nature. And I was a city boy, and my dream was like, oh, it'd be great to live downtown and like walk a couple blocks to a Pirates game, walk a couple blocks to a Steelers game, walk a couple blocks to a Penguin game. Like, I got everything I need right in the city, And now right. I'm like, get me out of here. I'm doing the opposite. I want nobody around me. I want to eat off the land, like we're looking at getting goats and chickens, I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Yeah. Do you have any animals, or are you guys not there yet?
So last year we started off with about 15 rabbits. We wound up harvesting 9.
Wow.
So we harvested 9 rabbits. I still got 1 more left in my freezer.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we grow hemp as well. So
okay.
Yeah, for me, man, I'm just looking for that right piece of land. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I keep telling people this, like I might just disappear one day. Like Clubhouse will be rocking and rolling, and just show up like, oh, what happened to Lamar? Twitter space like, hey, Lamar, you coming? I'm like,
yeah,
I'm trying to lose weight just so I can be less buoyant, so I can go get lobsters.
Yeah. So you could just
go get buoyant right now. I don't know if I can dive far enough.
Dude, that's, it's funny. I had this thought whenever I was a kid watching the movie Castaway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not really that bad of a life, like, like he's on this island. I mean, yeah, he's away from his friends and family, so you'd want to be able to communicate with them.
Right.
But as far as the day-to-day goes, like, I mean, he lives on the beach and fishes, like that spear fishing. And that's, oh man, now I'm,
listen, that's my alley, man. Like, I love snorkeling.
Yep.
Like, and when we went last time, no, two times ago, the guy was a spear fishing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I saw him dive down, but of course, he didn't spare anything while we were with him. But just watching him, I was like, man, I can see how this, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you
This
go
makes
down,
sense.
get your share. You might go hard one day and get a bunch of fish that day, put them all in the freezer and be eating fish the rest of the week. You know what I mean?
That's how you get your vacation days.
Yeah, man. Like, brother, like all of that to me is like, I don't know. I am looking. I'm still looking. I'm looking.
I won't dox you, but if you find some good land somewhere that's good for Bitcoiners, let me know. That way I'll know where to go.
You know where I've been looking lately just because of what happened? El Salvador.
Me too. Yeah. We've probably been clicking on some of the same properties.
Look, we're going to be competing. We're going to be bidding for the same thing.
We'll be the Black Rocks going down there and buying up all the land.
I didn't even know, like, number one, how beautiful it is. And then also, it's fairly, like, inexpensive.
Oh, yeah.
From a land perspective, stuff on the beach. And I'm like, there's this many acres on the beach? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You probably saw some of those houses. Like I saw, it's like right on the beach, multiple acres. The one had like mango trees and like all that stuff. And I'm like,
like fruit trees. Yeah.
I'm like, that's pretty great. Like I could go there. Like I think
I don't need
survive.
a whole lot. I'm not trying to impress anybody with my house.
No.
I just need to be able to have good shelter, and my wife needs to feel comfortable. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't need a 5,000 square foot house. I'd rather have 50 acres and a 1,000 square foot house.
Oh yeah.
Than you know what I'm saying? Than a 6,000 square foot house on half an acre.
Yeah. Yeah. I
agree.
Like that's
give me the land, and then let me because what I realized I don't stay in that many rooms anyway. Like no matter how big my house is, you wind up looking up and being like, well, I'm in like 3 rooms at most, 4 maybe.
Yeah.
The rest
you end
of
up having that room in the house. You're like,
what?
Why do we even have that one? You know?
Yeah. Why does that room exist?
Yeah. Only in America where we go to, we go to these great lengths to indebt ourselves to get this huge house. Man. And it's so backwards. Dude, it's we're gonna have to do this again, man, because we got deep here. I don't want to keep you too long if you got to run.
Oh no, I'm good. Yeah, because I do have a meeting. I was looking at the time. I was like, because I could talk to you for a long time, bro. I appreciate talking to you.
Yeah. We'll have to do some spaces too, because I want to have like I did the one night Bitcoin and beers. So I don't know if you're a beer drinker or if
I drank it when I was 5 years old. From that point forward, is
no way. But I'm not like a hardcore drinker, but I like to sit on the back porch in the summer. So I the one night I just fired up Twitter Spaces and we got like 50 people in there, and I was just like, but then I was having this like crazy deep conversation with my buddy the other night, and I was like, this, it's just kind of got me down this path of like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing all this crazy stuff? He was going like deep, man. Like he was getting into like how old the pyramids are and shit. And I was like, it was like blowing my mind. I'm like I can't go that deep right now. Like, I'm trying to stay afloat in what I got in front of me. But right. It's but yeah, it's, dude, maybe we could do like some kind of maybe like a mission type thing. I was thinking about that when you said like there's homeless people, but then you could have like a $20,000 shipping container that's like on the beautiful like mountaintops. And it's like, what if you set up communities and then like one by one get people like from homeless shelters and like, teach them, the basics of like what they'd need to survive, and then be like, hey, do you want this beautiful, like, yeah, it's a shipping container, it's, I don't know, maybe 200 square feet or something.
Right.
But it works. You want to live here, or would you want to live on the street, and like give them something beautiful to live in.
That's if you, like we said, and build the whole community where it's self-sustained, because the whole idea is just make every house self-sustained and then have backups as a community just in case somebody's system fails.
Yeah.
Right.
So that everybody,
you have a self-sustaining grid on each house, and then you create a community grid that if your grid goes out, you're getting some from the community.
I love about that? You can do that all without a politician.
Yep. That's what exactly.
It's humans
Exactly.
taking care of other
It just takes
humans.
people to decide to do it together. And that's pretty much what I've been trying to figure out, man. I got to get the land first, but I got people who are very interested in trying to do something like that, man.
Well,
So
we'll have to keep in touch about that,
for
and
sure.
we'll do this again
Look,
soon, man.
man,
Because
I guess I'll let you go. This has been awesome. What is this
dude, yeah,
podcast called?
it's a Bitcoin made simple.
Bitcoin Made Simple. We talked about Bitcoin a little bit.
Yeah, I know. That's what I end up happening is that it ends up you get into so much else because it's like there's the hard parts of like what's a wallet, and like all that kind of stuff. But then whenever you really peel back the layers of the onion, and you're like, Bitcoin is all about like basically what you said, where it's like at its simplest form, it's like having fruit in your backyard that you can pick and live off of.
Right.
It's not depending on social security and all those other things. It's about a simple life. Maybe that's why it's called Bitcoin Made Simple, because it really is like, winding down to like a simplistic life. And everybody jokes about like, oh, win Lambo, like whenever the price goes up, we're all going to get Lambos. But I guarantee you, like Bitcoin could be $5 million and there's not going to be any Bitcoiners, maybe a handful, but nobody's the hardcore ones are still going to be living in the same houses, and like
Yep.
Guy Swan and I were talking the one time and said they're like if we were single and trying to like ask the bank teller out on a date, she'd be like, oh my god, I'm not going out with that guy, he's poor as hell. Like they look at your bank account and they're like, there's nothing in there, there's like look at the car he drives, look at the but it's all in
We all
Bitcoin.
lost it in a boating accident, man.
It's crazy how that happens. It's an epidemic of boating accidents.
Yeah.
And
Bitcoiners and boats just don't work out. I remember at a Miami Bitcoin conference a long time ago, they had a yacht sitting in the front of it. And
oh,
I
really?
think from that point forward, everybody started losing their money in boating accidents.
Yeah. Don't get a boat then whenever you live on your private island.
Yeah, no boats, helicopters only.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then I guess to end on a Bitcoin note, where do you think we're going here in the short term? I mean, there's no way anybody can really know. And in my mind, I tell people all the time, like, dude, it's going up eventually.
Yeah, I mean, from a fiat perspective, I think yes, it goes up eventually. I think in the short term, I am a finance guy, so me even looking at the markets, the valuations in the markets, looking at what's going on with dang on treasuries, like all of this stuff makes no sense right now. 0 sense. It makes 0 sense. And it's like we're running into a weird time. And of course, COVID had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
I just think that our economy is on life support.
Yep.
And I think that they're going to have to keep printing money as the support for the life of the economy. And I think Bitcoin, actually, from that standpoint, you keep printing money, Bitcoin's a great place to put your money. So in the long term, as all of this stuff starts to shake out, we start seeing the consequences of the actions of what's going on with the Fed. Yeah, Bitcoin in the long term goes up, but in the short term, I have no clue, bro. Like, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin to me. Again, that keeps me grounded. It keeps me focused on what the big picture is, because why do I need a lot of fiat when, like, whatever fiat you're in is probably going to die at some point in the future?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want a lot of fiat, man. I'm not looking for a lot of government currency that keeps getting printed into oblivion because of war. Like, that's literally why they want to be able to print money. So if that's the case, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. And in the short term, I don't know. I truthfully, I can't tell you what's going on in stocks. I can't tell you what's going on in any of it right now.
It's all make believe right now.
Holding on and looking for land. That's it. That's what I'm looking for, some land. Man.
You have kids in school, or are they older?
Yeah, I got 2 out and 1 in.
Okay. So that's what my big question is. What do you do with, if we move somewhere? Although Princey's got the right idea, that world schooling. Have you seen how he does that? What's it called? Galileo, I think is what. That's what I think Princey has his kids doing. It's like self-directed education.
It makes sense to me though, because look, most of the stuff I learned from a software perspective, I taught myself.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. if you
That's
love it
literally
and then you just dive
I
into
didn't
it.
go to school for that. So it's like, then that's literally my trade. Like, that's what I do for a living, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I taught myself that. So if I can teach myself to develop Bitcoin wallets and all of that, then these kids can go down paths that wind up teaching them the things that are necessary. And to be honest, I truthfully believe that college degrees aren't going to be as important in the new economy as trades.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not going to be like,
you know, understand them.
I agree. I mean, it could be anywhere from a plumber to a programmer, you know,
Yep.
and it's all about like, just figure out, I mean, how many people after college asked you what your GPA was, you know? It's like, yeah, everybody was sweating about that. And I literally never once got asked, not once.
If people knew what my GPA was, they wouldn't believe I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know. That's what me and my parents, we came to the understanding. Because I mean, I'm a smarter person, you know, smart. I'm not like a genius. I'm not trying to brag, but like I got good grades, and then like all of a sudden, whenever I had to try a little bit towards the end of high school, like my grades started to go down, and it was a struggle with me and my parents because I wasn't interested in the stuff. And so I would do good in the stuff that I was interested in, but if I wasn't interested in it, I would just bomb. I just wouldn't even try. And
but it makes sense.
yeah. And then you look back on it and you're like, no, why would I do that to my kids? You know, like they don't force them into something they don't like, you know? But yeah, it's craziness. Well, hey, yeah, we got two. We got 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So we're at the beginning. Oh yeah. We got a ways to go. It's I saw my neighbors when their son was moving out. I think he was 22. I said, "You guys made it. You made it." You know, like I don't want the time to, you know, I don't want to rush the time at all. That's, but you know, there's days where you go, "Am I going to survive this?" Like this is. I told my neighbor, I said, I'm like a jungle gym, you know, like they're just climbing on me.
Teenage years, that's the time you're gonna be like, "Am I gonna survive this?" Like you're gonna be wishing for these days back.
Yeah. Like, oh, I wish it was just, you know, having kids climbing on me and pull me down, pull my hair, and you know.
Yeah, wrestling, like doing all the stuff that's the fun stuff. It's when they turn 16 and they never come out of their room.
Yeah. Which I tell myself, I'm like, one of these days, like when my son wakes up early, like one of these days I'm gonna have to drag you out of bed. I know it. I know that'll eventually happen. But right now it's like, you know, he's like, Daddy, let's get up and play. I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
I can't.
It flips. That's what I'm saying. It flips. When they turn 16, you're like, come on, let's go do something. Oh my God, Dad. It just flips. they are the ones sleeping in. They the ones don't ever want to get up. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is, man.
It's so funny. That's so funny.
But yeah, man, I guess let's do this again. I appreciate it talking to you, brother. And I can't wait to be in another space with you.
Yeah. We'll set it up, and we got to do this a lot, man. This was one of the better conversations. You know, you're just vibing immediately. We were like, yeah, we're on the same wavelength there, you know. And you know, that's also good too. Like I try not to beat the religion path with people because, you know, everybody comes from their own background. But I feel like there's not a lot of, I don't know if there's not a lot of Christianity in Bitcoin, or it just feels like,
oh man, Jimmy Song, Robert Breedlove, like if you, because have you seen God Bless Bitcoin? I think it's what it's called. The book.
No.
Yeah, you gotta check that book out, man. Like Jimmy wrote that with like 8 other people in Bitcoin. And it's what is the guy? I can't see. I will mess the name up. It got God in it, Bitcoin in it. Look it up on Google, anybody that's listening.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Song, like check that book out because it really talks about like the way we were talking about it. Talk about Bitcoin from the standpoint of being the fair money, like actually being money that, you know, that Jesus would probably be down with. You know what I mean?
Something he would have stood for, you know?
Yeah, because it's like the system is a debt-based system, you know? So it's like, yeah, you should check it out. What is it? I don't know why.
Is Breedlove a Christian, or is he just like a spirituality person? Or
who, Jimmy?
No, Breedlove.
No, I think he's a straight up Christian.
He just went down the BitClout roll, right?
Like, all of those guys I think are Christians. Russell Okung wrote the forward
for the God Bless Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think it's God Bless Bitcoin. That like I wish I could look it up right now. We on this Zoom. I don't want to have to.
Yeah. I'll have to. I'll look it up
But
after. I mean, I could put it in the show notes. That way people can find it.
Yeah. Like that. There's definite Christians in Bitcoin. Definitely. You got to think too. It came from a libertarian type of
mindset.
Background. Yeah, and a lot of libertarians are Christians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's what. I mentioned this, I think, on the other one, but the Breed Love with the BitClout and going down that shitcoin rabbit hole. He'll be back. We'll welcome back with open arms whenever.
And all I would say is, dude, again, the reason why I don't worry about what individuals do, because I'm not trying to be everybody's leader. It's like, it's on him. If he wants to mess around with BitClout, I don't. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm not going to spew stuff at him, because all of that stuff feels like Salem witch trial type stuff to me.
Yeah.
Right? If that dude wants to talk about BitClout, it's not bothering me. I'm not. Matter of fact, I went to BitClout one day, and these guys on Clubhouse said, like, Lamar, go check it out. I said, I'm going to go ahead and check it out. So I went and checked it out, went on there, and if you go to my site on BitClout, all you see is a picture of Lakeith Stanfield from Get Out movie, and it just literally says, do not spend your Bitcoin, get out. That's all it is.
That's awesome.
Of him on BitClout. But I stayed in there one night for like 3 hours with these guys. They were trying to tell me how it worked. And I was like, this just feel like a pure scam. They was like, no, watch, we're going to give you some coins. So they gave me these coins. And then I said, okay, what happens? Because, I'm playing around with it. I was like, what happens when I sell? And the value that it said I had when I sold them, it was nowhere close to that value. And so I was like, y'all telling me all of this stuff. This is crazy. And y'all like this? And you telling people to get on it? Like, I was just like, and they were having a good time with me, because every person that came in to learn about BitClout on Clubhouse, I was like, stay out, get away. Yeah, and they left me on stage. So it was just like a huge, like, fun thing that night. But since then, I have not been back on BitClout.
Yeah.
Like, I checked it out because those guys were like, man, it's cool, it's fun. And I went in, I was like, there's nothing fun about this. I don't get the fun.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So when he did that, I was like, all right, he did what I did, but him putting it on his profile is different.
Him activating it. That's
that's different.
Well, that's I mean, so I do just for fun, and I think that's why he blocked me. But I call it I call it the shitcoiners thread of shame. If you go on my profile, man. And it started with Chamath, when Chamath started shitcoining, and I did it's just like the picture of Chamath here, and then next to it was Roger Ver, and it said you either die a Bitcoiner or you turn into Roger Ver. And then Elon did his thing. So then I said, you either die a Bitcoiner or you turn into Chamath, and it a picture of Elon and Chamath. And then the next one was, you either die
keep on doing it.
Yeah, now it's the next one in the thread is Breed Love. You either die, a Bitcoiner, or you turn into Elon, and it's Breed Love turning into Elon. And so I did that. And I think that he, I was like, I even said, I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm not, I tagged him in it. So I'm not trying to do this behind anybody's back. And whenever you want to, reconcile, we're all here for you. We'll welcome you back. And I did the Michael Scott when he does my prodigal son returns, It's like, when the prodigal son returns, we'll all be here for you,
Yeah, and look, even that, none of it bothers me at all. Real talk, man. The toxic Bitcoin maximalism, it is what it is. It doesn't. I have my own way of doing stuff. I kid with Hollow and all of them about the laser eyes and all that stuff, because I'm like, bro, I ain't never putting the lasers on my eyes. Then I said, I'll put the lasers on my eyes once we hit 100K. Then I'll do the lasers. But it's I just like playing with them, because I'm always, I'm a rebel. So it's I can't be rebellious on one side and then just fall in line in another way. So I gotta punch back all the time. So I always fool with Hodl them and be like, man, get those lasers off your eyes and that kind of thing. But for me, at the end of the day, it really don't matter. Because if you have Bitcoin, you're in the space, listen, hold on to your Bitcoin, keep it moving, and take care of your family, man. The rest of the stuff is just fun for Twitter. And I didn't even know how Twitter was until this year. Like now I see how Twitter is. I'm like, this is the craziest thing ever.
It's
My wife said,
wild.
crazy, right?
It's wild. It's like,
Yeah, I haven't I
holy
really
shit.
wasn't using Twitter until I got on Clubhouse. Without Clubhouse, I wouldn't have known like Parabolic, all of them. Like now I didn't even know Hollow was like huge like he is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's even Marty. Like I told Marty when I was on Marty's show, I was like, Marty, like I didn't even know about your podcast. I'm gonna be honest with you. I
Yeah.
didn't know about the plebs. I didn't know about any of this stuff. I don't listen to Bitcoin podcasts because I've done so much. It's like
There's not much more for you to learn.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like listening to the choir all the time. So I don't really listen to anything like Bitcoin stuff that is like a podcast. And I'll definitely get in Clubhouse and like discuss certain new topics and stuff. But as far as podcasts, I didn't. So I didn't know Marty. I didn't know a whole lot of these guys. Jimmy, old school. Tone Bays, old school. Dang on Andreas, all of them are old school. Even Eric Voorhees, because I know people.
Yeah. People have
right?
their problems with him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, all the old school heads, when I came to Twitter, I was like, man, like Twitter eats up the old people.
If you're not still 100% Bitcoin, you get
right.
You know,
but
you
here's the thing,
up.
and I think if we was gonna talk, we should do that next time. But here's the thing: in the old days, nobody was 100% Bitcoin.
Yeah,
because that was the whole point. Like everybody was experimenting.
Yeah, you're figuring it out.
People don't understand that. Like with Litecoin and Dogecoin, like Dogecoin was fun. Every Bitcoin I knew had Dogecoin back in the day because it was just fun.
It was a joke. It was like, oh, hey,
like Felix that works on Bitcoin Core now. He's the way, like they created a wallet from Germany, messing around with Dogecoin to make it rain. And like and I was the voice. They met me in Texas. They were from Germany. They met me in Texas. They said we need somebody to put a voice on here so we can. So when you
make it rain,
make the Dogecoin rain, it says stuff. So I was like, much Doge, mini money. Like I was just making up these. Like, and it was just fun, right? So I'm like, back then everybody was experimenting with everything, trying to figure out stuff, counterparty and color coins, and it was all of this stuff. And so whenever I see people attacking people who were like experimenting with stuff in the past, I'm like, man, that's not cool because it's like that's in the past. I can understand now, but once you go through that and understand like this stuff don't work, it's not worth it, that's different. But if you were in the past doing it, like everybody was, because we was trying to learn, it was just fun. And most of us were like developers, right? So you gonna try to push the limits of something, run this and try to, right? So that's how it was. And I think a lot of the new people that came in 2017, because it was such a financial group of individuals that came in because of the ICOs and all of that, then the whole thing changed more towards sound money, towards, ICO derivatives, those kind of things, right? And now we see like quote unquote DeFi. We see all of that because it was a different group of people. The early people were libertarian and programmers. Most of the people I met were programmers at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I met somebody somewhere, they were always somebody who was like developing or into software or cybersecurity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now it's mostly like finance people and, the plebs are just like crazy.
Yeah.
I love them though. But it's crazy. It's just different. It's a completely different time. So I always am the old head that fights back. Like you're not gonna tell me I ain't gonna say crypto. I've been saying crypto the whole time.
Yeah.
Because people like Lamar, it's Bitcoin, not crypto. I'm like, man, whenever we said crypto, we were talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's just a word. It's just a word. Exactly.
So yeah, man, you should have an old head, young head talk.
Yeah.
It is it's a different. You know what I'm saying?
Different dynamic of
of the type of people that are in the space.
I wonder, we should do that and maybe do it on a Spaces or something and get a mixture, but or like do like a multiple people on an interview. It'd be interesting. Yeah, because I tell people like I was so far down like the shitcoin rabbit hole that I was like debating on making one for a company of mine. Like I was like, well, obviously, you make a token, and I mean, Bitcoin is obviously great store value, but it can't do everything, and then so I started exploring that, and then I was like, wait a minute, and that's when I discovered Lightning Network, and I was like, hold up, everything that any shitcoin wants to do can be done on top of Bitcoin. And that's when I asked myself, well, why would I make this shitcoin? And I was like, I guess the only reason would be to enrich myself. And so that was the moment where it was like, yeah, I can't do that. And that kind of turned me into a maximalist. And I held on to one ETH coin for probably like 4 or 5 more months or something like that, 6 months. And then finally sold it and was like, yeah, but I mean, even for then I didn't even believe in ETH. I just was like holding on to it for the fiat. And then once I kind of wrapped my head around like, wait a minute, why am I even focused on fiat? I could have more Bitcoin right now if I sell that thing. And so everybody has their Bitcoin phase. It's kind of like Tropic Thunder, and it's like it's Hollywood, everybody's gay once in a while.
It's real though. What's so funny, I even had Dogecoin when I came into Black Bitcoin Billionaire, because it was just old Dogecoin I had. And I used to tell people, because they would ask me, I'm like, yeah, I have a little Dogecoin. It was really like 187,000 of them. And so I'm sitting on them. And because of Black Bitcoin Billionaire and me telling everybody, like, don't be looking at all these crap coins, I was like, you know what? I'm going to sell all my Dogecoin. And I sold it right before it took off. Like I sold
Of course, right?
I sold them all off right before it took off. So then they always give me a hard time. See, you still should have been holding on to your Doge. I was like, nah, I feel okay.
Feel better. Not
telling people one thing and then me still holding on to those.
Yeah, because then you're taking advantage of people.
Yeah, even though it was back in the day, you know what I'm saying? Like it was like long time ago. Like I still have Ripple somewhere that I got for free in 2014. I don't even know where it's at, but I remember them giving me some Ripple when it was Ripple, not XRP. So it's like, of course, I was like, I tell people that, like, I got 1,000 of them somewhere. But it's like with the Doge, I literally had some, because again, I told you, we used to play around with that stuff all the time. And I wasn't even thinking about it until I got in Black Bitcoin Billionaire on Clubhouse and was like trying to educate people. And then they would say, Lamar, do you have any of this or any of that? And I'd be like, yeah, I do have some Doge left. And so I sold it. And like the very next 2 weeks, it went up to like 65, 50 cents or whatever it was. And I was like, well, that's cool. I'm good. We'll be all right. But I did have some. That's what I'm saying. It's like back in the day, we all had a little bit of something. Matter of fact, I remember I was asking people, did they want me to make a Litecoin wallet from the Fever wallet?
We
never did. Yeah, we never did it. But yeah, we were like, and we had gift cards in the wallet where you could buy gift cards directly in the wallet. So you could use them at like Whole Foods and all of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was just like, we had all kinds of like dope stuff going on because we were just experimenting. We were trying to learn. And it's like now, I think it's, it's such a battle. People are really like, no, only Bitcoin. And I'm like, that's why people like Eric Voorhees, who's been around for a long time. Like he gets a hard, what do you call it? Like he gets a hard time, him and, some other people that might even be running exchanges or whatever. But it's like, bro, we've been in it so long. It's like,
yeah,
like what else?
It's impossible not to have been touched by.
Not to be messing with something. Yeah, not to be messing with something. It's like it is what it is. So that's why I'm like, I listen to all the new cats on Twitter. Twitter's just a different space, man. It's so funny.
So how long you been on Twitter?
I've been on it forever, but I never.
You just never used it.
Yeah, like I didn't know. Like I did not know, brother. I didn't never really make posts. Like if you go back, I probably don't have maybe that many. All of my posts are from like this year, like the last year and a half. And even most of the followers I have come from like this year or something. Because most of the time on Twitter, I was like, okay, I didn't understand it until you get in a community like Bitcoin Twitter, and it's like,
so this is what's going on here.
This is what people are using it for. I got it. Now I see why they thought Trump was so dangerous, because I guess he had a following like that, where it was like, you know what I mean? Like this
like a fervent, like, they're just like chomping at the bit,
I get it.
Oh, that kind of makes sense because they, in Bitcoin Twitter, it's like the moment somebody steps out of line, they just get chewed up and spit out. And it's kind of what like that's kind of what Trump did with like, like Chris Christie, was like one of his guys, and then all of a sudden, throw them in the wood chipper and they get, destroyed. Um, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, well, it's I had my one thing kind of go viral last week. I have to send it to you. It's the movie Tropic Thunder? Do you know it well?
Yeah.
I did.
Robert Downey.
Yeah. I did the Tom Cruise character dancing to that song. Let's make lots of money, and
Yeah.
and it's like what just showing like what plebs do whenever they're buying the dip. They heard like Bitcoin went down. It's just him dancing like
So are you
buying.
editing like these little films?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Though
I gotta check
I
it
do that one just for fun.
out.
That
Okay.
one. I'm not like for like the big movie. Like we don't do huge movies, but we regular size movies or whatever. Like I don't know how to do all the CGI and all that.
So you do
That's
medium movies, medium and large movies.
Yeah. Hopefully, with the streaming platform, once we get the more subscribers we get, the more money we'll have to just produce our own. This is like the nice place where I'm happy to be. Where we're like, hey, let's make something. Like I think this one idea is gonna be funny, so let's make a 10 episode series about it. And
Right.
it's not going to be like this huge production, but it'll be something that's fun. And then eventually, maybe we can start blowing up like big buildings and stuff like that, and have all the special effects. We are making a movie about the Titanic though, so that one's kind of big.
Are you for real?
Yeah,
Is it like a
yeah.
documentary?
No, it's a narrative called Unsinkable, and it's about the like starts off with the sinking of the Titanic, and then goes on to the court hearings and Senate hearings that took place afterwards, to trying to find out who was responsible and stuff like that. And it's funny because it ends up playing into this fiat like money crony capitalism world of like JP Morgan was going to make a ton of money off of the British buying his steel for World War One, and he wanted it to be hush hush that like the White Star Line was at fault for the because the White Star Line, who owned the Titanic, it was their fault that they were going too fast, they were ignoring all the warnings, and if they had to pay restitution to everybody, then they would have been bankrupt, and that was England's biggest company at the time. So their industry would have fallen apart right before the Great War that was brewing. So it's kind of interesting now that I started that one. I mean, we started working on that. We learned about that, or picked up that it was a stage play, and we turned it into a screenplay back in like 2016 or 15. Never made it to a stage, but yeah, we'll see. It'll get out there. We got some.
Do
So
you
that
ever
yeah.
sell them to like Netflix or any of these other guys?
What's that?
You ever sell them to like Netflix or any of these other people?
Oh yeah. We sell them to all those guys. Although nowadays everybody is pretty much doing their own thing. Everything's created. So stuff we used to sell to them 4 or 5 years ago, they're not necessarily gonna nab up nowadays.
But they just got stories now, huh?
Yeah. So that's why everything's got to have a home, and so that's why our streaming platform is Movies Plus, and we'll be launching here I'll edit this part out, the Citadel. We got to get that going, and it's gonna be like Family Guy, and we're gonna have the Church of Robert Breedlove and Latter-day Saints, and
oh my god! But are you gonna get him to voice it?
I don't know if I'll be able to get him to voice it because he'll probably he blocked me, so I don't know if he's gonna be down for it. Although maybe if I throw some BitCloud his way.
Right. I think Ugly Goat is a Christian too. Now that I think about it, I think he's a Christian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, brother, this has been real. And it's so funny. I was getting a million phone calls while we were on this. I had to just text somebody and tell them.
Oh well, dude, I appreciate that because I'm a new pleb, so to hear from you that it was a good conversation. That means
no, it was, man. Like this is such a real conversation, and it's crazy because I've been having some real conversations on these Bitcoin podcasts. It's crazy. Like even me and Marty went family. Like it just went straight to family, and then like I just did the Bitcoin Matrix one. That was like it's very interesting.
Yeah. We'll have
so whenever you want me, man, just holler at me for the spaces. If I'm available, I'll try to come through with you, bro.
Yeah, and I'll try to get you on. I'll get you on more. I try to mix it up, but I mean, dude, you'd be a great regular guest. So if we can figure something out,
okay.
I'll invite you back on, and we can do go down different rabbit holes of the conversation.
Right.
All right, man. Where can people find you? Let them know before we sign off.
You can find me everywhere at BIGMARH, Big Ma. The H is for how my dad says it. So it's Ma, right?
Is that how he says your name? Yeah.
That's how he says it. Ma. He don't say Mar. He says Ma. So because he says that, then I always put the H in homage to my pops, man.
Nice.
So BIGMARH everywhere.
Awesome. All right. Well, Mar, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. And let's do this again real soon.
Yes, sir. Talk to you later, man. This is awesome.
All right. See you.
Later.